Welcome back to Peace Talks. My name is Andre Tidwell here along with
Alex Garrison.
Brian Gillespie.
And John Sullivan.
And John. Can you start us off with our history fact today, sir?
Well, I think I have 5 total. Today, October 25th, was a busy day in history. So in 1415, the English army defeated the French at Agincourt, and the French had 60,000 troops to King Henry's 12,000, but the British longbows turned the tide of the battle. And actually, that is a famous story as well because later in World War I, supposedly during a British attack, the ghosts of Agincourt, it's like a legend that they came to the aid of the British soldiers in World War I and assisted them in turning the tide of the battle as well, like 1,000 years later. So it's kind of cool. Also in 1760, George III of England was crowned. He was the king who we would later rebel against. In 1854, the charge of the Light Brigade occurred, which was during the Crimean War, and a brigade of British infantry charged down a narrow corridor in full view of Russian artillery, and they were just annihilated. And it's spawned movies and poems ever since. And one of the most famous is obviously called The Charge of the Light Brigade. Then moving on to 1944, the Japanese were defeated at the Battle of Leyte Gulf, which was the largest ever sea battle, and it just destroyed the Japanese Navy for the rest of the war. It led to them resulting in kamikaze attacks as the only form of true, stopping the Americans. Then, let's see, what was my last one? Oh, yeah, in 1962, in South Africa, Nelson Mandela was sentenced to 5 years in prison. I think that's just an interesting way to end it.
All right. You have now been enlightened, people.
Yeah.
And Alex, you have something going on campus this
Yes.
weekend?
So tonight on Main Lawn at 7:30 p.m., CAB will be hosting one of their movie nights on the lawn. But tonight, because Halloween's next week, they'll be doing a haunted movie night. So Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark will be playing. There will be a popcorn bar with popcorn drinks and candy to put in your popcorn. And that's at 7:30 on the main lawn.
All right. So if you like popcorn, go to it. If you don't like popcorn, just like movies, still go anyway.
And there'll be blankets and chairs to set up, and you can bring food, whatever.
Bring an additional blanket.
Yeah,
it's going to be a little chilly.
It's going to be just a fun, scary movie night just to get into the vibe of Halloween.
Exciting.
All right. So for our discussion topic today, we're going to talk about voting. Does anybody here particularly have a thought or care about voting or going to vote in the next election?
Well, I think we were discussing our registered to vote status, whether or not we're registered. And I am registered to vote.
I think I am.
Yeah.
I was saying earlier, I have lived in 3 states in the past 2 years, so I'm definitely registered to vote in at least one of them. I don't know which one, but I'll figure that out. But I plan to vote.
I got to figure out if I'm registered, and then I have to get an absentee ballot, but
yeah,
I got to figure that out.
I definitely vote every year, no matter who's running, just because I feel like obviously not sometimes one person can make a difference, but I just feel like it's my American duty to do so.
Yeah. The right to vote is
and
there.
because they fought forever ago for women to be able to vote, I might as well take advantage of it.
1920.
That's the year my grandmother was born. Ugh, Betty.
1920?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice.
She's an old lady. Yep.
Well, then she's always had the right to vote. Good for her.
Go Betty.
Yeah. Yeah, I plan on voting. I'm not going to say who for. I'm still not entirely sure yet. But I don't know. It is weird because our votes go to other people to make informed votes on. And that's just a weird process to me. It's like, why can't our individual votes actually make the decision? But
because it doesn't matter.
There we go. All right, Andre, let's hear it.
Well, I've decided not to vote in the election ever again personally.
Yep.
Because I honestly feel like my vote really isn't going to do too much. Honestly, that's just me. That's how I think about it because
Yeah.
they have the electoral college, right? That's
Yeah.
gonna do the final castings of the votes that make the president be the president. So that tells me in my brain, just looking at the elections and past elections, that somebody is gonna pick the president that's not the people. So
Yeah.
my vote really doesn't matter. It's no point in me going to the podium next to me.
But your vote goes towards who are the delegates to vote.
They still have their decision though. It's just weird to me. I don't get it. I don't understand how that works because I think the popular vote should win the election, right?
So voters vote and so you vote for, like, let's say you vote for a certain candidate.
Yeah.
Then a delegate is selected that is like represents a certain amount of people. And then they vote for that as like it goes up the chain. And then those go towards the electoral college, which has like a certain amount of votes for each state depending on population.
Yeah.
And then that goes there. Because, like, so if you get 60% of, like, say, Virginia, then you get all of those electoral votes.
Yeah.
So
Which is why
that's,
winning a
so
state's
that's
a big
how
deal.
you can, like, go against the popular vote. And that's why, like, there's more state power, per se, than there is, like, individual power. But I think that it's, like, an American citizen's duty to vote so that you have a say into who your delegate is.
Yeah.
Because if you don't vote and, like, then all of a sudden you're making all these comments about how, like, all these issues that are happening in the nation and, like, what can we do to, like, make it better? And obviously policy is the way to make change nationwide. And then if you don't vote, then I just think, then why are you talking about policy if you didn't vote on the policy, the people that do make the policy? So I'm like, if, like, yes, each person's, like, each individual citizen, their part is small, but it's still your say in how your government is run, how policy is made, how change is enacted, and, like, every little bit counts.
Well, and all the small little pieces come together to make one big
Exactly.
piece.
Yeah.
So even if your part is small and you don't think it makes a difference, well, if everyone thought that way, then nobody would vote.
Yeah.
So,
And I'm going to vote. I
I feel like if you, then that leaves your decision up to somebody else. And if that's your personal views, I feel like you should represent them.
Yeah, and I'm going to vote. I just, the first three words of our Constitution is "we the people." I feel like we the people should get to pick our president or who we don't want to be our president. And I mean, the technology exists to count each individual vote at this point.
I'm not saying the Electoral College is, like, the best way to do it.
Yeah.
But I feel like if people understood how it works more often, because I'm not going to lie, I didn't realize how the Electoral College worked until I got to college.
Peace, yeah. Me
till
neither.
Till I came to Peace and, like, took a American government class and figured out how the hell that
Cusco.
works.
Yeah.
Actually, at Huseman. And, like, took an American government class and, like, figured out how, like, our government is set up and all that. Like, you kind of know, like, you know the basics, like the three branches, checks, balances, like all those, like, ping words. But as far as, like, how, like, everything, like, works with, like, lobbyists,
How it
and
runs, yeah. You don't
Electoral
really learn that
college,
until-
how people are chosen on, like, the city, state, national level. I was like, oh my God, this is so complicated. There's a reason why you people are called doctors that spend your whole life
I feel like they should,
on all this.
like, you take government in high school. I feel like they should teach how all of that runs in high school before you're even able to vote, because I feel like a lot of reason why people don't vote is because they don't really know how it's run. And like, they don't know how it's run and they don't understand enough about it where they feel like they can vote.
yeah.
And I feel like if they go over, like, how it all works instead of just going over the basics in, like, high school before you even are allowed to vote, then maybe they would have better, like, more people voting, and it would be a different outcome of how votes go across, I think.
Yeah. And I feel like the Electoral College turns people off because of the way it's set up.
Yeah,
But that's
definitely.
not how state elections are run,
No,
how
they're
local elections
different.
are run.
Oh yeah,
There's
definitely vote in your local elections.
There's, like, so many other things that you could vote on. So if, like, you don't choose to participate in the Electoral College because you don't think that that's the way to do it, that's perfectly fine. But you also have your local and your state elections that you could
Judges
participate
and
in.
sheriffs are both elected officials. So if you
By popular vote.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's other ways that your one vote is counted as one.
Yeah.
So why not use your one vote? You know?
Because, I mean, one vote can make a difference.
Let's hear it, Andre.
When I say that, I preface that towards presidential elections.
Yeah.
I'm not taking parts in those because in my head, that's already done. And like I said, people for the states and elections and stuff, cool. But for me, I don't really get into look into who's running because in my head, all of them are in together in some state of fashion. Anyway, Democrat, Republican, all of those, they're tied in together. They just act like for the public that they're really fighting against each other when really they're not.
And I think that's what makes it hard for a voter is because you really have to do your research to be an informed voter and go in
and
make
people don't,
and make
don't
a decision that you can stand behind. But I don't think a lot of people know that you can only vote for what you want to vote for. You don't have to vote for every single thing on the ballot.
No.
Like, you can leave things blank.
Yeah.
Like that is perfectly fine to leave things blank. Like if you don't care who's elected as sheriff, don't vote on it. You know, but don't just
vote for a random name because you think you need to fill it out.
That's the worst
Yeah.
thing you can do.
Yeah.
I know,
Although there are funny names out
So
there.
I mean,
feel
I
like-
know people who are like, oh, I voted for this person. I have no idea what they stand for, but it was on the ballot, so I voted
Their
for them.
name
Like, you don't
seemed
have
cool.
to
And they-
vote for it.
And they just see like an R or D next to their name and they're just like, oh, I'm just going to identify with my
Yeah.
party or whatever, which is fine if you're like diehard Republican, diehard
Yeah.
Democrat, like whatever, do your thing. But I feel like you should know why exactly they are identifying as a Democrat or as a Republican, because I feel like what a lot of people don't, like a lot of people see two extremes between like Fox and MSNBC, like two extremes of the spectrum.
Yeah.
But then there's like a good 60 to 70%
That's in between.
that are centralists that could go either way on any given policy.
And if you don't
Yeah.
do the research on it, how are you supposed to
Yeah.
know?
And it's like a lot of people identify with a party because they're slightly lean that way.
Yeah.
Not because they're fully in every single policy that like Republicans create that they are agreeing with everything. Like, no, a lot of people are centralists.
Yeah.
And
Well, and a lot of people vote for people who are strictly in their party just because
Yeah.
they're in that party, but that
The party
doesn't-
system is ruining our government.
Yeah, but
I
like
mean-
that doesn't, just because they're in your party doesn't mean that you necessarily need to vote for them. Like
Yeah,
sometimes
George
people,
Washington warned us against the party
some people
system.
who are running in your party.
there's
literally
some,
did.
I don't,
But like, no, what I'm saying, going back to the centralized, like sometimes the centralized people represent better for the party than the people who are running in your party.
Oh, yeah. But I'm just saying, as far as like a party system goes, it's the two party system that's killing us.
Yeah, it's not.
There are
the
party
overall.
systems. I don't remember what country it is, but they have like a 3, 4, 5 party system where it's like each section of the spectrum where they have like a centralist party.
Oh, yeah,
Where
yeah.
we only have 2 ends of the spectrum.
And it's the two
where
that
they
is
have
messing us up. Is that we need more. The two are
It's
too
technically 3,
specific.
but libertarians are just
They
laughed
don't-
at.
But like,
Everyone just laughs
ours
at
are
We
us.
have a two-party
Ours are too
Unfortunately.
specific, and they need to be more broad. I feel like.
Yeah, well, I
They
mean,
need to
the
be spread
party
out.
system is what's
Needs to be more
killing
than
our
2.
government. George Washington literally told us stay away from identity politics and the party system because it will lead to a dark path, which it's led to. I mean, people just stand across the street from each other with cops in between them and yell because they like the guy with the red tie or the lady with the blue pin on her shirt or whatever. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me, the yelling that goes on, because we all want a better America. So why can't we just get along and make it happen?
Do we all want a better America, or we all just want to talk about how much better do we want America to be?
Well, I'm trying to
I
I
think
would like it to be
everybody-
a better America.
I think everyone wants to live.
I
in
feel
a
like
better
everybody
America.
wants to improve our country because obviously there's problems with everything these days and
Don't always
everyone's
seem
picking
like it, though.
But everyone has
everyone's
different
picking
view on what a better
pieces
country
apart
is.
and everything. But I think we also need to remember that we are the United States of America and we're actually doing pretty okay.
We're doing good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're overcritical.
We have issues, but what doesn't?
We've got issues.
If
Everyone's
you
got
wanna
issues.
see Democrats and Republicans come together very quickly, suggest something that's going to take money out of their pockets. And they're going to both collapse on you with a fury that you've never seen because they only care for their money at this point right now. Like when you leave the office of the president, it doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat, you go on tour basically like you're a band and you do like Hillary, even though she was never elected president, she still does like big Goldman Sachs meetings and stuff where she gets paid like $300,000 just to go in and give a 20-minute speech. And it's because they donated all this money to her campaign, and the Clintons do that, and the Obamas and the Bushes. I mean, everyone does it. And like the last true human president to me was Jimmy Carter, and he still builds houses for the poor. I mean, he's almost dead, and he's still out there swinging a hammer trying to make this country a better place to live for people who are, not having a great time.
I think that as generations have gone on and as we have had like more presidents or whatever, and as technology and innovation has like progressed and new media and how information gets out, I think also plays a big part in only seeing two extreme views. Like as a consumer of news and media and politics, you have to be so much more diligent about taking everything with a grain of salt and getting both sides of the story. And you have to do so much as a consumer of media to get the objective like news that people are turned off from it because it's extra research that you have to put into your day.
So much extra.
From just on top of life. Like a mom with kids and a husband and a house and a job and like chores to do and like grocery shop, putting food on the table and doing all this. Like there's so many things for one person to do that researching about news and politics takes a back burner so quickly. Because like my mom, for example, like she works all day, every day, like Monday through Friday, like any other person, comes home, like mom and dad figure out dinner for her and my dad and my brother, and they figure it out together, and then they sit down and she just wants to relax. She reads her books and she does that, and then she watches her news until 2 a.m. in the morning and then goes to bed and repeats everything. So she takes that extra effort to get her news, but like both me and my brother are grown up and she doesn't have like to take us to school, to pick us up from school, to take us to practice, to do all that kind of stuff. So she has extra time. But think about like a mother of like 3 who are all in like middle school or younger. Like they don't have time for that. Like, yeah, you can have your news on in the background, but do you want your like 8-year-old learning about abortion rights? Like maybe not.
Or gun laws.
Plus it's hard to find a news channel that's like just kind of down the middle, just reports the news. And local news is pretty good at being unbiased for the most part, but like I don't know, like the political news channels are definitely they have their leanings, and
it's about money, man.
Yeah, no, it really is. Once again, Andre, cream.
It's all about money.
Again, cream.
I mean, what really happened is that news became 24 hours.
Oh yeah,
there's not news. There's
everything.
not news to report on 24 hours a day.
And social media.
So then people started inserting their opinions to fill in that time, because you can't report 24 hours a day on the same stuff. You have to like change it up to keep your viewers. So they started putting their opinions in, doing all that kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden it turned into bias instead of just reporting straight on what's happening.
And that happened with ESPN too. There's not sports 24/7, so it's
entertainment.
Yeah, it's
More
entertainment.
than sports knowledge.
Yeah, I know. It's just like they do the same stuff over and over, but they put a different spin on it, or they add one new little interesting fact to the story, and they just keep talking about the same thing and get people all riled up. And the same thing happens on Twitter. There's always a video of anything now that is like anything controversial that happens. It could be a drunk driver, it could be a shooting, it could be anything that happens controversial. There's a video of it now because everybody has a phone and a camera in their pocket, and it's just it's like they only show the clips that work to their advantage for the most part. Nobody is out there like, here's the entire video of what exactly happened from start to finish of this day. Because nobody has that. They only show the clips that they want shown so that it'll get the people that they want on their side.
I want these clicks, John.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about the clicks.
I got to put
most. Oh yeah, and with Facebook in the and Zuck in the hot seat right now for overinflating their video metrics, it got a lot of writers fired. Because companies transitioned to video because Facebook was saying 900% more video was being viewed than actually was. It's crazy to me.
The money.
It's the money.
That's why I have my views on voting. Because honestly, how I look at the country is people just want more money, more power, and more resources. It's not about uplifting the people as much as I need to get as much money and much power resources to rule. That's my opinion on it.
Oh yeah.
And whoever's gonna be the president is gonna be chosen whether I vote or not.
When's enough is what for some people it never is, which is why it's like, and those are the people who usually go after these positions of power, and that's why we get in these holes here, because like, at what point is enough? Enough for me is just being able to comfortably live with my family.
So if you see like all this like negative stuff and this is your view on voting, like how, like, do you want to make change, or are you just hoping other people do it? Like, what's your take on that?
Only way I can make change is make sure my family's okay. That seems very selfish, but that's the way I look at it, because I can't control what's going on outside of my household.
But like, let's say like your future kids and your future grandkids, like if the country's still going the way it's going and no change happens, are you helping them then? Obviously, if you have like your basic needs and like you get an education, your like school provided for you, like food, shelter, all that kind of stuff, like all your necessities. But as far as like enacting like policy change and like all that kind of stuff, if it stays the same or even gets worse and you're not enacting your right to vote, like how do you expect things to change for future generations, for your family? That's just my question.
To make sure that I make it financially able and have a stable household in order for my kids to live comfortably. Because when I look at it, I don't look at the government to actually help my kids grow and be raised up in the system of whatever I'm putting them into. I look at, all right, what can I teach my kids? What can I get more knowledge in each of these fields to make them be wealthy? Not just rich, wealthy, it's for my future generations, on and on and on, to help so we can be good. Because everybody outside of my household is not able to be trustworthy. That's just that's how I see things.
So if everyone outside of your household isn't trustworthy, so you're putting your faith in them to run our country. Because let's be real, you're citizens of the United States. President Trump currently is your president. Like,
fair.
Right? So by not voting, you're just putting your trust in everyone else to make that decision and then put him in office. Well, if you're not voting, then you're not participating in government, because everyone's a participant of government if you're a citizen of the United States.
True.
Whether you're voting or not, yeah.
Whether you're voting or not. So
you did say it was presidential, right? Like you just don't want to vote for the president.
Would you vote in your state and local elections?
When I get more informed of what's going on and what they seem like they want to do, maybe.
Okay. I think our generation, like people under, I think like 40, are more tolerant than previous generations. And I think we're getting to a point where once people under 40 start really getting in power, hopefully they're going to see the world for what it is, which is something that we have to figure out how to protect. I mean, environmental is one of the worst sides of Trump's presidency so far, is his environmental impact. I mean, he's not exactly doing the best there, but and also that the world's population is growing at a rate that we can't really support in the future, and that we're going to have to figure something out there, and that's going to take, a couple billion people coming together.
Well, that's why the opioid crisis might be happening. They might be trying to kill people.
Well, yeah, I mean, yes, that is a conspiracy theory. But I could see it.
Possible. That's why there may be no cure for AIDS or cancer. It's probably that one's more likely to me, the cancer one. No cure for cancer yet. I mean,
I feel like the lack of trust and the lack of hope in humanity is so freaking sad that conspiracy theories that the opioid crisis is because they're trying to kill people off for population control. I think that's the kind of stuff where it's like, okay, everybody take a chill pill. Like, the United States literally hands out opioids like candy.
Yeah.
And that's why we have an opioid crisis. Like, have you ever been prescribed any kind of opioid before?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I tore my knee in high school. I took
Yup.
half of one of the pills. I had a bad reaction. Like I had like 103 fever that night. I threw up a bunch and I threw the rest of them in the toilet and I took Advil the rest of the time.
I've taken opioids, I think 3 separate times.
They were awful. It was not fun.
Like, it's the fact that our healthcare system gives them out like candy.
Yeah.
And that.
Well, who do you think allows that to happen? It's the government. It all circles back to the government regulations on this.
No, because everyone wants to make money. That's why everything happens, is because everyone wants to make money. They've got these little girls in skirts going into these hospitals selling drugs to these doctors who then prescribe them to their patients. And then all of a sudden we have an opioid crisis because they're giving them out like candy because they have all this excess.
Yeah, but what companies pay for the government, or not the government, but like individual campaigns? Because campaigns cost a lot of money, and a lot of pharmaceutical companies go through and are big donors to campaigns to ensure that they are kept, or they're left alone by the next administration.
I mean, let's be real. These like men and women who are good-looking people in their 30s selling these pharmaceutical reps are basically glorified drug dealers. Let's be real, guys.
They're just legal drug dealers. That's what they are.
That's what I'm saying. So if you want to like restrict opioid access and stuff, that's policy change.
Yes.
Everything is policy change. And policy change is made by the people that you put in office. And this all goes back to actually enacting your civil duty to vote.
Mm-hmm. But I want more transparency. I'm not saying I'm not going to vote. I'm just saying I want more transparency out of our government at this point. Like, I would love to see who exactly donates to every campaign.
I'm going to tell you right now, you're not going to get that transparency.
I know, but
I feel like that's just not realistic.
Because they're going to tell you, it's national security.
Yeah, that's just not realistic.
And I will say, because I do live in the DC area, my parents do, I fully support that you need to protect national security. I'm here for that.
Yes.
Homeland Security, big fan.
They've done an excellent job.
U.S. Marshal, big fan. FBI, big fan. CIA, big fan. Because they protect our country, and terrorism is a very real problem as well. And having my dad retire out of one of those agencies, and having a cousin that works in another one of the agencies, I know how scary the world is and how dark and evil people can be, and how big of a target the United States is. Mm-hmm. And I feel like national security, yes, is a very real thing to be saying like, yes, we're not releasing this information because of national security. But I feel like it's overused.
It is.
That's where I'll draw the line is, yes, that's a valid excuse, but
the Patriot Act was basically like, hey, some people want to do harm to the United States, so we're going to look through all of your stuff. And it was like, and then the counter argument to that is, well, if you don't have anything to hide, then what are you afraid of? And yes, that makes sense, but like, I still just don't really want the government looking at all my pictures and stuff. But I get that national security is a real and legitimate thing, but I don't think me knowing that Bear donated $2 million to Trump's campaign to ensure that they were going to be left alone is like really a national security thing. It just tells me exactly who owns my president.
But think about the bad people in the world who would do something with that information.
Well, the bad people in the world are the ones who are in charge.
Not all.
Not all.
Completely. But like still, that's why it's national security, because they're trying to protect it from people who could impact the government in a negative way with that information.
Well, in my opinion, some of the biggest criminals are the ones in the White House.
Yes.
So will you vote to not put them in there?
Well, whether I vote or not, they're going to be in there because there's always going to be another power besides mine that's going to get them in there, whether I like it or not.
All I'm asking for here is to know who owns the president. That's all I want.
All I'm saying is, if you have an opinion on policy and policy change and changing how our government is run or who is put in place to run it and make those changes, and you have an opinion on that, then you should be voting. Or like, if you don't like the Electoral College, then lobbying to change it.
Well,
like,
I mean, I'm only 23. I got to start sometime. But
no, but I'm just saying, like, if you have an issue with how the government is run or the policies that are being put in place, or like basically the money business that it is, then why don't you go out there and make a change and do something about it?
Because I don't have an issue. That's just, I accept how it is, and it's just going to be that way.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right.
And I just got to make sure my family's okay, and I raise them to be the best they can be in this country.
So will you, for your future children, will you tell them to vote or to not to vote, or let them make the decision, or what's your stance on that?
I'm going to give them all the knowledge they need to make the decision that they want to make. I am not going to force them to do anything they don't want to do.
Same thing with religion for me and my kids. Like, that's exactly how I'm going to treat it, because I was forced to go to church all the time, and I went to Catholic school, and having it shoved down your throat by a Catholic school makes it a lot less likely that you actually stick with the religion. So many of my friends no longer go to church, and it was just because we just had it every week, like from fourth grade on. Like kindergarten, if you went to the school from kindergarten on, and every class, even like math class, had something to do with Jesus. So like a lot of people just don't want to hear any more about it after they graduate from there.
I mean, coming from a kid that went to Catholic school from kindergarten all the way through their senior year of high school, I think a lot of schools do it right, and that it sucks for the kids that went to the schools that don't.
Yeah.
But I think that it's a large misconception that a lot of people leave the Catholic Church who went to Catholic school because of like the way the school did. I think a lot of schools did right. I loved my high school. My high school was great. I loved going there. The administration was amazing. All the other students were amazing. We had a great community, and they made it a choice to choose faith. So I feel like there are a lot of communities that do that in high schools and in schools, and there are some that don't, and that really sucks for the ones that don't.
Ours was like a militant school. It was ridiculous. We had a full-on uniform, pant, tie.
Okay, but that's a lot of private schools that have a uniform.
No, I know, but then I
don't think the uniform is.
They would take out a ruler and measure our hair, Bergen. I'm not kidding when I tell you.
That's normal for a lot of private.
When I tell you, no, but
though.
I would get sent to the office. I would shave in the morning. By fourth block, I would already have like a little stubble growing, because like I shaved last night. I already have a little stubble growing, and my fourth block teacher would send me down to the office, insisting I had not shaved during my shower that morning, and they would give me a dry razor. No shaving cream, wouldn't let you leave the office with the razor because that's letting a student go with a weapon. So you didn't have any water or shaving cream, and then send you back to class like with a bloody neck.
But that has nothing to do with religion. That's to do with
no, but they
policy.
made it a religious thing. They were like, well, you have to be clean shaven because it shows respect for God. Like, that was literally their argument to me. It didn't make any sense. Jesus had a beard by all accounts.
Well, that's why people nowadays don't really believe in religion, because it's been so misconstrued and falsified.
Yeah,
that they look at it now. It's just like I've been taught all these lies from when I've grown up, and now I figured out that this is what it really means, and it's not really about what you say it is. So all this I've been taught is wrong, and been forced to learn because of you just wanted to promote something.
I think I'm a spiritual person at this point, but not necessarily a religious one. I still do go to church because I like something about going to church makes me feel good inside, but I don't know. I'm not necessarily in agreement with a lot of the Catholic Church's teachings and thought processes and stuff. And also, there's people out there like Joel Osteen, and like mega church owners and stuff like that who just go to the Gucci store and the Versace store, and they're like, yeah, I need these clothes to preach to the people who don't have $1 to spend on a loaf of bread. So.
Well, I'm a Catholic.
I'm a Catholic too.
So here we are.
I was gonna say, we're both Catholic.
Oh, I am as well. And I mean, I go to church. I don't know. It's just some of it I don't agree with.
I mean, I'm not saying I agree with absolutely everything about the Catholic faith, but I'm a good 95% there.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm pretty close to 100 when it comes to.
Yeah, well, I mean, everybody has their own feelings, so.
And I was just lucky enough to go to a really good Catholic high school.
Oh, I wish I'd gone to a better one. I went to Gibbons for my first year.
I didn't go to a Catholic high school,
to
but I did
Indiana.
vacation Bible school and all that type of stuff all throughout.
I mean,
every week.
obviously, like
Vacation Bible school was fun.
every like private school, Catholic school has a uniform.
Yeah,
I mean, I wore
And they have
one.
rules about length.
but ours
got rules
was
about
far
things.
stricter than the
I mean-
traditional one. Like they would measure everything. Like
Oh,
if your collar was off, you got detention, that kind of thing. Like, it
Oh,
was
I went to
crazy.
detention for wearing crew socks instead of knee socks. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
Oh, I get it. Measuring my skirt. Oh, I get it. But that's their rule. That's their rule. I feel like
Yeah.
that's where sometimes our generation tries to make their own rules and saying, well, I don't want to do this. And there were a lot of kids in my high school that did the same thing. Like, obviously shaving's a little bit different because it grows back in a day.
That's the one that
And you
sticks
can't
with
control
me
that.
still.
That's a little different. But
I
as
literally
far as
couldn't control it. And they
but as
made it
far
like
as
I
like
could.
like whether you're wearing your tie or not, or if you're like wearing the proper dress code and stuff, as far as that goes, or length of skirt for girls and like knee socks or screw socks, shoes, whatever. Like if that's a rule, that's a rule. You're gonna be in workplaces where you don't like certain people or you don't like certain things about a company, and you're gonna have to work there and you're gonna have to deal with it. So I feel like that's what that does.
Well, but my other biggest issue was the school was you weren't allowed to wear a jacket unless it was the one that they sold in their store, specifically that one. It was $45, and I mean, a lot of my classmates literally just couldn't afford it because Evansville wasn't
stuff like they do that at all private schools when there's dress
Oh
code.
yeah, like
I know,
we had to
but
wear
I would look
It's just
around
the way
and
it
people would be
is.
shivering because they couldn't afford the $45 sweater that's going to fall apart after a year.
Sound like cold hard business to me, man.
It is. It's literally
if you're
business.
already
That's
going
why
to
I hated my school so much.
Well, if you're already going to private school and paying a
They
tuition,
got grants to go there. They were underfunded children. They were not able to afford the $45 jacket. And they wouldn't let me wear my letter jacket, which I tore my knee playing football for the school. And they wouldn't let me wear the letter jacket, which was a very weird thing as well.
But because of the school's insurance, they paid for the second half of your surgery with all your copays. So
I don't know. I don't think the school paid for it.
that's how school insurance works.
Huh.
That's because I tore my ACL my senior year of high school.
Yeah.
So my insurance covered everything that it covered, and then all the copays and everything, the Archdiocese of Arlington paid for.
Well, that's nice.
Gotta love it.
Yeah.
Just if you're gonna tear anything, tear
We
it
talked
in
about
school.
a lot of stuff today.
Yeah. Either way, go vote. If you don't, oh, okay.
Don't
about
complain
that.
too much if you don't
That's
vote.
about that.
You can have your opinion, but don't
And that was
scream it at
today
me.
on Peace Talks.
Yeah.
All right, peace
Peace
out.
out.